It is Friday afternoon for the Manhattan Invitational in Cortlandt Park. It's a glorious sunny day, not what's expected to be happening tomorrow so much. A front from the west is supposed to be coming in and giving us a lot of rain, certainly by the time the varsity races go off, but who knows, forecasts have been wrong. The noontime college meets going on over here. Teams from the Northeast lining up here. And I haven't gotten around to putting down the line yet for tomorrow's meet here. But I'll get to that soon. In the meantime, we're going to take a walk of the course on a sunny day. Of course, conditions will be a little different tomorrow, most likely. This is the starting point for this 2.5-mile race. Sometimes as many as 20, 30 teams line up for the letter races here. Get to the JV race and freshman here. They start out across the field here, towards a white wall in the distance. The entrance to the cow path. Over to the side, you can see another finish line. That will be for today's All Hallows race. That comes from basically the similar starting points down here at the end of the field, and they finish over on the other side. Finish for tomorrow's race is by an orange sign over there now. That will be set up later for the Manhattan race with its big green banner. And this is can be quite an explosive start here, racing across this field. You might even have geese flying out here. Over here you have the pigeon flock over there. They're not as much of a problem, but when the geese are settling down out here, that can be more of a challenge. And so we're going to get it going again once we get up to the cow path. We've gotten across the entrance to the field, or the expanse of the field here, and we're coming up on what used to be called the cow path. It was kind of an area that was all full of sand and could be a little treacherous to run through back 40 or so years ago. Now, not too bad, a gravel path, but it does get very tight in here, and this is where everything in the race you're in starts to tighten up hugely, because you're going to be going up the path into the woods when you get to the cow path here, and it does get tight, and if you have couple of hundred kids in your race, you'll have a lot of company here that you got to jostle around with. And certainly on these October days, it's pretty shady in here. And although you have the gravel path here, you also have railroad ties that are trying to keep the erosion down, but if you don't see them well, they can trip you up. You always got to watch for them. They're basic wood. They have painted some of the rocks here a little white, so you're alerted about that. But the railroad tie there Yeah, so when you are in a big crowd here and can't really see where your feet can't see much ahead of you, you got to be careful. Keep the feet a little off the ground so that if you are coming up on a tide, you don't catch the tip of it and go over. And this is the pathway up to the bridge, and the rise, the hill up here that they call Freshman Hill. And they call it Freshman Hill because it's the only hill that the freshmen run on in their shorter race. They do not go over the bridge into the back hills. And yeah, in case you're wondering about these side trails, there's a hill up to the left here called Cemetery Hill. Has a cemetery up there, and there's been a lot of jokes made about that, about certain runners who had a tough time here. But yes, an old cemetery up there, and it is an extremely nasty hill to run up if you're in one of the senior open races. They've had national championships here where you have to go up Cemetery Hill 3 times. That's pretty wretched. But the high schoolers do not do Cemetery Hill, except maybe in practices. There's a lot of teams that do their workouts here on Cemetery Hill. And I'm not exactly sure when they first started using this 2.5 mile course that they use from Manhattan. But the history here, Van Cortlandt, goes back, well, there was races here in the 1870s, so they say that it's 100 plus years of running here at Van Cortlandt of XC, but it's getting closer to 150 now. Certainly back in the 1870s. The first national championship was not too far a distance from here, back in 1883, I guess it was, that they had a race Inwood and Fordham, and ended up right back in Inwood, back when it was all farms, and little bridges over the East River and Spuyten Duyvil and all. So the northern part of Manhattan and up here in the Bronx have been used for cross-country running and championships, and the Hares and Hounds before that for over the course of about 150 years, back to the 1870s. And so this is, you can say, where in America cross-country began. The early races, yeah, there was the Hares and Hounds running, where 1 or 2 guys would go out and leave a paper trail behind them, and a pursuing group of runners would try and catch them, and they'd run through the woods, through marshes, through all over the place before they got back to their headquarters and had a nice dinner, maybe a few drinks in there. Back in the 1880s and all, and then it evolved into cross-country running handicap races in parks like Van Cortlandt here, where runners had a time difference. If they were like novices, they'd be given a couple of minutes head start and so forth. And the winner was, whoever was not necessarily the one who ran the best time. It was whoever got over the line first with their handicap and all. then there was also other types of cross-country championships. But it finally, of different, featuring like 4 runners and so forth, until finally settled on the, usually the 5 runners. And in the 1920s or so, Van Cortlandt became the focus point, the center point of a lot of the big championships. And into the 30s, after the Depression, Van Cortlandt, they had the Columbia spiked shoe, and of course they had the Manhattan Invitational back then. It did end finally, and they did revive it though years later, but teams would come from all over the states. This was before there was any state championship for any extended period, so come from all over the state to, or the tri-state area, to run at the Manhattan, at the Columbia, and all sorts of other races that they had here at Van Cortlandt. And while we're at it now, we are going up the hill towards the bridge. This is part of Freshman Hill here at VCP. And getting closer to the bridge. We've got another turn or two. But as you can see, there's railroad ties all along here. They help to keep the trail from getting all rutted all over the place from the storms and erosion. But dappled lighting in here throughout the day. And yes, we are coming up on the bridge now. So this gets to be a this is a spot where you have a lot of people cheering up here at the top of the bridge. You make a turn to the right over the bridge here, but yeah, you got this turn here onto the bridge, which can be again a little tight. Don't run into the stone wall here. Got another railroad tie just before you enter it, so there can be tricky things here. And before we're going to cut it here and start a new clip, but just want to show this is another pathway up to Cemetery Hill here. This is one that in practice teams often run down, and that's the path you take back towards the finish line after you have come over the bridge. Okay, so yeah, I've made the turn here. You're on to the bridge. You got the Henry Hudson freeway down below here, and you probably don't even notice that when you're running. And you're charging across here. It can be, again, a little tricky when the leaves start piling up because you got a little bit of a curved sidewalk on either side. You got the gravel in the middle, so again, a place where you can lose your footing right there on that curve. And you bend around to the right. After this, it's mainly all lefts that you're going to be doing bending around, but this is the hill into the backwoods here. No bikes. Cross-country runners don't frequently get accused of biking in the back hills, but who knows, that things can happen. But yeah, this is the first of the hills in the back hills. Back hill number 1 here. And it's more of the same, gravel. It's got the railroad ties, and you've got all sorts of conditions to work with back here. You've got occasionally some joggers, pedestrians from the city. They usually get warned that there's races coming through, and they're usually on the lookout for them. And there's other trails that they can go through like that. But they can come up on you, and they have the right of way. I mean, they have the right to use the trails as city residents and everything while the Manhattan Invite is going on. So you just run around them. And remember, in the early days of cross country, there were much tougher hazards than the occasional pedestrian out here. There were actual barriers, like steeplechase barriers, set up that you had to go over. You could either jump them, and they were more often set up early on, probably just a little bit after the cow path there, going up the side area on Freshman Hill. Straddle, whatever, get over them somehow. I don't think they would have put them in too often at the end when your legs are feeling pretty dead, but you never know. So you just continue bending around to the left here, and as always, the railroad ties. And you've got your first big descent here. You've had a few little descents coming up the bridge and all, but this is your first big descent. You got to make sure to get over again the barriers here, the railroad ties. So, you know, keep your heels up a bit. Don't get stuck catching your toe on one of these, or it is painful. And as I always tell the runners, try and make sure that you can have a little bit of room in front of you when you go down these hills, because you need to fly down them. You've got a series. Here's the second of the back hills. Not a huge ascent, but still, they keep hitting you, and they take it out of your legs here, you know. So if you are just kind of being careful going down the back hill, it can be kind of draining on you, because they take it out of you going uphill. So going downhill, you want to fly. So let it roar and help it. The momentum gets you up, get you started on the next back hill anyways, get you a little ways up there before you have to start grinding. You just got to do turn over, get up these hills. It's got its issues always with the width here. Not that easy to pass all the time, but you can do a little spurt to get by a guy. I know a team that has won a lot of the Eastern States races for the boys here, the CBA Colts from Linwood, New Jersey, seem to do a lot of passing in the back here. They don't always start out big in the early part of the races, but they seem to pick off a lot of runners in these back hills here. So there is room to pass, but you basically only can get two across here at a time. So it's not exactly a wide, expansive golf course back here. This is an old style course, and teams that come up from, say, the South or whatever, and they've run on golf courses all their lives, and see something like this, it's a new experience for them. We've got I guess it's maybe the third big downhill at this point. And this is one of the steeper ones. And it's got all sorts of ridges, because despite the railroad ties, there's been some gullies cut in here. And so you got to watch your step, as always. The back hills are famous for needing to have their their surface watched, because anything can happen back here. You've got to make sure to just stay upright, stay on your feet, and get ready for the next hill, because there's always another hill coming here in the back hills. I think we're up to the maybe the 4th hill here. And now after you've been hit with a few hills, you know, your legs are starting to feel it certainly a bit here. And so just gotta keep your mind on it, keep those legs going forward. Don't try and be a hero right here. You also have rocks sticking up. The yellow is kind of faded off a lot of these rocks, so not that evident. And as you can probably see, there's more bends up here, because we are getting into one of the tightest spots in the race. And yep, the teams are out here practicing, seeing the course today, coming in from all over the place. The teams that come down on Fridays are often from upstate. They come in earlier. This says NYC, so I'm assuming it's a city team. Some of them are having meets today too. Again, we have the All Hallows race associated with the CHSA, the Catholic conference, but most of the teams are from the CHSA, but there are other teams that come in from, I think it's Morris Hills or West Morris. One of the teams from New Jersey usually comes in for it to, you know, run Van Cortlandt the day before Manhattan. So yeah, you are winding your way through here, catching a few more railroad ties, and we got another back hill as we go around the turn here. They never seem to end while you're out here. And yeah, there's sometimes runners can turn into walkers, and certainly if you're just previewing the course, that's certainly understandable. During a race, it's harder to probably for some coaches to accept, but yeah, it's whatever you have to get you up the hill. And if doing a little walking going up it so that you can put on a big spurt of running down the hill after you get through there, and that helps you, well, that's your strategy then. And you just keep winding through here. One thing you don't have to worry about is getting broiled by the sun. Even when the Manhattan has a really hot day, you don't get broiled in the back hills here. Maybe towards the you can be on the starting line for a while, getting broiled, or once you get down to the parade grounds, that last finish can be pretty hot and deadly. But back hills, nah, they're still well shaded at this time of year, and no big problem there. And yeah, it's the back hills. They've been a part of every single course in certainly in modern times. The starts and finishes have varied greatly, though. Mainly in recent times, because they renovated the park. They redid the surface, the playground, or the parade ground area. starting about, it was almost 20 years ago at this point, I think, back in the mid-noughts there. And so for some years, while they were renovating the top, they started by renovating the northern part of it first. The finish, since they couldn't really run the way they had usually run, they had the finish on the east side, on the opposite side from where the finish is now. So that made a change in the course, and that, coincidentally or not, was when the old Van Cortlandt course record was broken finally after, gosh, I think it was around 30 some years, when and this was before the boys had the Eastern States race, might have been like the F race, kind of a later race for the boys, where two guys, one from New York and one from New Jersey, battled down the final stretch. The guy from New York, our guy Steve, was well ahead going down, starting at the top of the stretch, and certainly when he passed me, he was way ahead of our guy from Craig Forest from New Jersey. But Steve Murdoch, I don't know, just had tied up a bit, I guess, at the end, and Craig Forest passed him and beat him by, I don't know, a little bit of a time there, second or two, probably 2 or 3 seconds actually, and broke the long time record. And the record lasted for 15 minutes before Tommy Grunwald of Fayetteville Manlius in the next race beat it by 1/10 of a second. So that's when things started changing, and as far as the records go, but the courses were different, and Edward Cheserek came along, and he was Joe Rosa of WW out in New Jersey there. He broke it first, I guess it was, and then Edward Cheserek got it under 12 minutes. Just flew around. This course was perfectly built for it, and he I think he broke it in his junior year, if I remember right, and I'm not sure if he was quite as fast in his senior year, but he did win it back to back. And you could tell, because again, the courses were changing at that time. They started redoing the southern half of the field, and so the start and all changed. The start was actually on the northern half of the parade grounds for a while. They ran past the current finish line and wound around the back of the park before they hit the hill. So it was, you really couldn't necessarily judge all the times against each other from over the many years. But they've had a lot of fun here setting records, and of course with the girls, it's because of all the national champions that have come through here. Both the teams and the top runners. Most recently, Carrie Beloga. Just very shortly before her, of course, it was Carrie Beloga of Cornwall, and Katie Toohey of North Rockland. Before that, there was Ashlyn Cuff, also of Cornwall, and there have been a lot of runners over the years here. For quite a few years, it was like the first 12 girls night championships. I think 10 of the teams who won the night championships at least won here, and most often they won here. That was often that was FM, Fayetteville Manlius, and then of course there was at the very first one, Saratoga. They won here in 2004, and then went out to Portland for the first night championship and won that year. Hilton in 2005 for the girls. They didn't manage to beat Saratoga here or anywhere else in the state that year, but they did go out to Portland, and they managed to beat Saratoga for the first time out there at the Nationals, and it's just an incredible effort from the girls from Hilton up in Section 5 there. And okay, we are coming around to the greater part. We got the fence here. You got to be careful not to get run into it. We've gone through most of the back hills. There's you got a long, steady decline here. Again, the railroad ties. Before you got another back hill to go up. You got at least one or two left, and plus you're running up to the bridge too. So we'll cut the clip when we get to the road up ahead, but still a ways to go here. So yeah, we've got a lot of history here over the years, and a long time ago, like say around the year 2000, Manhattan wasn't really that big. I think it had, it had a lot fewer races, and they only had the girls' Eastern States back in say the year 2000, and they didn't have one for the boys yet. There wasn't that many teams in like the Eastern States. Sometimes they'd only have like 7 or 8 teams. But then things started exploding in the mid-teens, especially. Things started getting really hot and heavy, and you had some big upsets here. More on the girls' side than the guys, I think it was Assumption from Pennsylvania one year. There was Midlothian from Virginia, which is just, they were just shocked. I remember had a tent set up, team I was associated with right next to theirs, and they were just going crazy when they heard the unexpected news that they had won the big Eastern States race for the girls, and everything. So a lot of teams from the outside have won here, Tatnall, for instance, so it's been a meet that's welcomed a lot of great teams here in mid-October, and the atmosphere here is just incredible. Spectators, well, there's some up on the rock at Cemetery Hill being able to overlook, although you really need your binoculars if you're having to scan all the way across the parade grounds to the other side to see the finish. And but it's just a great place to sit up there. A lot of people gather at the finish line. Of course, that makes it a little crowded there. You can go a little further up for the bends going into the finish area, that around the dog pound or the dog walking area and all, and that can be a good place to catch a lot of the action. coming down the trail from the bridge. But you're not allowed to have spectators in the back here. There is a coach from Manhattan College that is very good at enforcing that rule. You do not come back here if you're a coach or a spectator, for obvious reasons. It gets very tight back here and all sorts of things could happen. In cross-country races all over the place, there is sometimes interference with runners, and you just want to keep these areas in the back hills as open for the runners as possible, because again, you do have the city pedestrians, joggers and all, who are allowed to come back here during Manhattan Saturday. You also find that they are very good at being precisely on time with the races. There was one year in recent times when there was an issue with some kid at the line that pushed the time back about a half an hour, I believe. And we, on the bridge up here, we had 4 runners from 4 different races crossing one way or the other at the same time. So that got a little tough to film, and it did seem to have there was a couple of things in the results we saw that weren't that couldn't have been right, but it's tough when you have runners from 4 different races coming in. Usually at the finish line there'll be the stragglers from the last race, and along with the main race coming in, but 4 races is tough. Okay, we've come to a road you gotta get over, so we'll cut it there and start a new clip. We begin our clip to the bridge and beyond. I just want to note that if you are having extreme troubles as you're maybe 2/3 through the race here, there is this outhouse area, the restroom back here. But we're gonna go up to the bridge. And this is, again, you're getting to the last part of the race. It's maybe a mile to go. One and a half K or so. And you've come up to the bridge. When you get down to the bridge, well, actually, it's got to be more like probably about 1K from here, because yeah, it's 600 meters when you get down to the bottom. So coming up to the bridge here, and again, you're really starting to pick up the spectators now as a runner, and this is where the adrenaline really starts kicking in, because you know you're getting close. You're just got to get over the bridge, and very often when you're coming over the bridge you will see runners coming the other way, so you always steer to the right here. And because the runners who have come up Freshman Hill will be running over to your left here, they'll keep to their right side, and you keep to your right side over here. Stay in the dirt usually. And you bend around off of the bridge, bend around to the right here, and you head on down. And again, this can get tight in here. One of the issues is runners sometimes have a tough time in the back hills, so the medic carts, the gators, are sometimes having to rush somebody down to the medic tents at the bottom. And you will have spectators who were up on the bridge and who want to be able to see something at the finish, so generally they're supposed to stay to the left, and you plunge down here on the right, and hope that you don't have a stitch in the side or anything at the bottom here. One thing you have to remember is you hit the bottom down here, you can see sunlight up ahead. Make sure you do not start sprinting all out at that point. You might want to start picking up your pace a little bit, but you don't want to start sprinting because it's still 600 meters to go. You still have, you know, that's, for most runners, that's going to be well over 2 minutes with tired legs and everything. Maybe 3 or even 4 minutes if you're really having a tough time at the end. And yeah, you have the traffic from Henry Hudson going both ways, so that can be used perhaps as an urge to get you going. And right about here, you're really going to start feeling the cheering presence, the spectators lined up in here. It's always a big bunch right around here. And I should mention that if you were in one of the freshman or intermediate races, you didn't do the back hill, so that bridge we just came over, you don't even look at that. You know, you just pass it by, stay to your left, and you come right down that hill we just came down, and the finish is the same for everybody. So this is on a nice sunny day, this is looking good. Tomorrow could be quite different. You could have puddles here if it rains hard enough. I don't think it's supposed to be a gigantic amount of rain coming up, so maybe the puddles won't develop that much, but it is supposed to start running in the morning, and so it could build up for the varsity races for the end of the day. So in here, yeah, you're just trying to keep strong, not necessarily any kind of sprint around here, trying to, if you have some energy left, you want to be able to try and pick off a few runners in here maybe, but if you begin an all-out sprint here, you may pass a bunch of runners, but when we get up to the final stretch up ahead here, I've seen a lot of runners over the years just having a lot of time getting down that last 200, 300 meters and just falling way back and just having a tough time. So just try and keep it strong, breathe in hard. You know that there's a place called Lloyd's, famous for its carrot cake, Lloyd's carrot cake, that certainly if it's one of the early races, you're going to be able to get over there and get some carrot cake. Some of the best stuff in the world ever for a cross-country meet. So that's what you got to be thinking of here. Lloyd's carrot cake, Lloyd's carrot cake, Lloyd's carrot cake. Or maybe you start singing some other type of lyric like Running on Empty or something. But you wind around a little bit to the right here as you're coming up to the final stretch. And occasionally you'll have a dog fight here, yeah, because there's a the dog pound over here. I'm going to flash over here. It's over towards Cemetery Hill. There's a it's hard to see, but there's some cuts in the among trees there, so you do have views out over here. So sometimes spectators take the trails to get up to the overlook there and spend the day watching the races from there. So you're coming around here, and yeah, you're on Broadway. Right next to it here, probably be a lot of buses tomorrow lined up around there too. Yeah, here's some more porta stands at the end here. If you can't get over the finish line before something has to be done. If your team seems to be on top here, you are really feeling good, because Manhattan has some of the biggest trophies you've ever seen. You know, you have to probably rent another bus to carry some of these things home. They're just gigantic, bigger than some of the runners. And so it is great to be able to take one of those home to your school souvenir showcases and display your win in a race, one of the letter races, the Eastern States races. Just great. And of course, a lot of runners are getting medals here. Lots of different levels. You have intermediate at the very bottom. That's for the junior high kids. You have the freshman races. You have sophomore races. You have JV races. And you have the letter races, the varsity letter races, and the two premier races, the Eastern States races, which started for the girls way back. I think it go back to the 70s, whereas the guys, it was more recent times that they started the Eastern States for boys. I think it's been about maybe 15 years now. They've been having Eastern States for the boys. The boys have 8 varsity races, 7 letter races, and the Eastern States. Girls have 6 letter races among the varsity races and the Eastern States. So you're coming down to the end here, and yeah, this it's going to look quite different tomorrow. Well, again, it's going to be cloudy and rainy probably, but also you're going to have, all this area is just jammed with spectators. The fences set up, keep people back and all, but you're just running for glory now. There'll be a big banner up there, and you're hoping that the voices can carry you over the line in fine fashion here, hoping that your legs still have some kick in them and can churn, because oh man, it's a tough feeling when you're quite dead and it's a hot day and you can't get over. You don't have to worry about a hot sunny day tomorrow. It's not going to be like today, Friday, but you got to save something for the end as you come in here. And this will have the all the souvenir. You get your Manhattan invite t-shirts and hook up with some of the companies selling things here, and also the medical tents down here. And you can see all your teammates as you come in. Cheer them on, the ones who are still out there. And just a great feeling awaits. It'll be a great day for everybody. Manhattan Invitational here at Cortlandt Park. And for all the runners tomorrow, just enjoy one of the greatest experiences you'll ever have. Here they are setting up the finish line now. No! And this is what you're going to be running through tomorrow. And hopefully the truck will be gone, but it's going to be really great here. All the spectators, coaches. This is also where they celebrate the winners, and everybody else who had a great race here, you know, and everything. So great day here for Matt.